and today we will give a little overview of our system. So what collection system? There are very many different systems in the world to collect packages, like deposit, containers, curbside, packages bag, and very many others. If we talk about Estonia, for example, then we have both deposit and we have the container systems. You call the yellow bins, we have actually yellow, green, and blue bins. All of the systems have their pluses and minuses. There is no ideal system in the world, that's clear. But today we will talk about the pluses and minuses of a deposit system. So it is clear that the deposit system can collect 80 to even up to 98% of the packages put on the market. And I put here 100, but I think 99.9% of the material is so clean that it is recyclable, 100%. You drink it, you put it in your car or in a bag in the kitchen, and next time it's in the RVM, it's in the recycling loop. It is a way to tackle actually littering in that sense that usually the packages which have the highest risk to be left in the environment in somewhere during the picnics in the summer, in the spring, or somewhere in the city or nature environment, these are the beverage packages. And there's a way how to tackle that issue. I have a very simple view. Most of us want to be green. We don't have time to be green. So the deposit gives this monetary incentive, and together with this monetary incentive, it helps to really engage all the people into environmental action. Basically, you just want to get your money back for your package. So in that sense, also non-environmental friendly consumers contribute. Talking about the minuses, it's clear that there is a risk of fraud because there is money involved, but you can tackle that together with controlling. If from day one you have a very good controlling system together with the IT system, then that is not a big issue. Stakeholder management is not easy. All of these producers, importers, everyone had their own interest, everyone had their own minds. So it is quite work from the central organization side every day to work with producers and importers, also retailers, also the government side. So that shouldn't be underestimated. So in that sense, I always say that what looks very simple is not so simple in the kitchen side, but it's doable if you take your time and you really set up the system in a correct way from day one. So here I shouldn't talk much how it works. The package has 10 cents. I go to buy my milk, my bread, my water, and next time I go to buy my bananas, I just get my 10 cents back. First I give my 10 cents together with the purchases, next time I get it back. So in that sense, it works very, very simple. Now it gets a bit more complicated. These are the major stakeholders that should be always involved. The industry, the retailers, and the central organization. Usually the central organization is owned by the industry and the retailers. And of course, this creates a totally new field for the recyclers. Because as so much good material is available, there is so much potential new business available for PET recycling, for can recycling, for glass recycling, etc., depending on what is in the scope of the deposit system. So it's clear that the oldest systems started in Scandinavia. Usually my Swedish colleague says that they started the end of the 19th century. Then I always say that maybe we started the end of the 18th century because there were milk rounds. So milk was taken to the households and the empty packages were taken back. The same goes that maybe in Czech there was already in the 17th century milk rounds, so who knows. And the second thing is that there were not very many good drinks in the Baltics in Estonia during the Soviet occupation, but one thing I remember, that I got all of my pocket money from a deposit system, actually, kind of a deposit system, because you could return your glass jars and bottles, etc., and you could get money for that. After the re-independence in 1991, that died, and now we have started a deposit in 2005 again. But so it was kind of a predecessor of a deposit system. In Estonia, we started the system May 2005, so it has been 13 years. 75% of the owners of the system are associations related to the producers and importers, and 25 are retailers. we are a private company working on non-profit principle, but we are accredited and we are monitored by the Ministry of Environment, who is also an active partner. But we are not owned, we are not state-owned in any way. Today we have in the system 320 producers and importers. From day one, more than 10,000 packages, more than 10,000 special SKUs, EN codes, and 3,500 are active, meaning the ones we collect every day, which are put on the market every day, and the ones we collect every day from the market. That is the sales side. If we talk about the collection side, it's the retailers. We have 850 collection points and some 670 reverse vending machines. It is up to the retailer if they use manual collection or they use the RVM collection. But today, most of it is RVM related because it's just more convenient for the retailers. And on a volunteer basis, we do cooperation with 350 HoReCa sectors, meaning hotels, restaurants, catering. We collect from them, we give them bags free of charge, etc. So, the products which are under deposit are soft drinks, water, beer, low ethanol, alcoholic beverages, juices, nectars, juice concentrates, and the packages are plastics, PT, cans, glass, both one-way and refillable. Roughly, I think about 85% of the whole packages are one-way packages, PT, can, glass, and 15% are refillable glass on the Estonian market. The deposit value is exactly 10 cents for all packages. It used to be differentiated. It depends on the country. It depends on the local conditions. For example, we had before 4 cents on small PT and everything else was 8 cents, but now we unified it to 10 cents because we saw a sneaking decrease in the return rates, and you need to tackle that with the increase of deposit. But again, the golden rule of a deposit value is very simple. High enough to motivate consumers, low enough not to motivate fraud. So when we started in 2005, 2006 was the first full year, then it was about 80% manual collection, 20% RVM collection. Why I show this is that today there is already 80% of the whole packages are coming in compacted. Small detail, but why we talk about that? If we are talking about the CO2 emissions decrease, very simple. 1 bag of compacted material equals to 2 bags or even up to 3 bags of non-compacted material. So when we started, we were kind of said, yes, you are green, you are doing a good job, but you are driving around Estonia with a lot of air in the trucks. So we squeezed that air out in 2008. And it gave us huge financial effect in the logistics, for example. Not to mention the CO2 emissions. I have to remind the population of Estonia, it is 1.3 million people, so the numbers correlate to that. Last year, it was 291 million packages put on the market, and we collected 231 million. And the PT return rate was 88%. Cans were around 74, and the one-way glass was around 89. We have just one specific thing, that we have a lot of Finnish tourists taking out cans. So in a normal situation, the can return rate would be anyway 85 plus, maybe even 90. So this is just a remark because of this 74%. And if we take the whole packages from day one till today, we have collected some almost 3.5 billion one-way and refillable packages altogether that have been given a new life. And actually, as I said, we are a small country of 1.3 million people. There are so many requests to buy PT, to buy cans, that we would, the demand is, I don't exaggerate when I say not just 5, 10 times more than we can sell because we just don't have enough material. The Estonian market altogether, maybe it's 13,000 PT, roughly 4,500 tons. So, if we talk about a working system, it's clear that it has to be non-profit principle. In Estonia, it happened so that all the producers, retailers were fighting against in 2004, and then the government came together, made a round table and said, okay, you don't do it, we do it. Our organization was formed in, I think, 2 months. So in that sense, it's much better to see this discussion here for you to be ready if something happens in the EU law, if something happens in the government side, etc. And it is a very good proactive approach in Czech, I think, in that sense. That's why I say it has to be stakeholder involvement, producers and retailers very actively, because they are the ones who should be the owners of the system if you want the system to be efficient. Otherwise, if there are some private companies or operators or government, there is a risk that it will not work on a very efficient basis. There has to be a correct initial setup, not too much in the law, not too little in the law. All the aspects of logistics centers, etc., they have to be set. Take your time. We had to put up the system in, it was crazy, 7 months, that's not normal. Take 1 year, 1.5 years as a normal startup. Czech is much a bigger country, so in that sense it's clear that it should be at least 1.5 years to really have it set up in a correct way. Controlling is one of the cornerstones of a deposit system, and that's clear that it should work with very modern IT system to control the sales side and also the collection side. And that is why sometimes the deposit system is not liked, because it's too transparent. Everything that is put on the market is controlled. Everything that is collected is controlled and seen. And it is a constant awareness building towards the public and the stakeholders, because once you launch it, you have to give continuous feedback to the consumers who are actually behind it, because they are doing the effort every day. And you also have to educate the retailers and the producers to show that it is not just all about money, but it is all about the environment. And in addition, it's all about the environment and the system logic on a much wider scale, how it works. So that was quite of a quick run-through. So I'm sorry if it was a bit too quick. But that is a short overview of the Estonian deposit system. And if we go into the specifics and questions, I understand it will be later in the panel anyway. So thank you.